welcome to the Functionised podcast. We're here at amazing, beautiful Bellworks. We got Ming in the background. We have Tony Stark over here, the actual Tony Stark. So he's going to make an appearance as well. But we're here with special guest Lauren Brown, who, let's just brag about her a little bit. So Lauren, as she was discussing here off camera, she got injured and decided to step on stage, so she became a pro. Easy peasy. So IFBB pro, a very competitive and accomplished triathlete thus far, and keep on going. And let's not say wino, but say wine enthusiast.
You can call me a wino.
Well.
I could be a self-proclaimed wino. I don't take no offense to that.
So we'll get into this a little bit more. So thank you, Lauren, for hanging out with us and podcasting.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
If you would share the story again as we were going through, how did you get into competing in the first place? Let's talk with bodybuilding was first, right?
Okay, so we're going to backtrack.
We're
We're backtracking like 13, 14, 15 years ago. I can't remember now at this point. So I was actually training for a half marathon. So I used to just do a lot of like 5Ks and races, and I was like, let me do a half marathon. I want to just try that out. And so I've always had like some knee issues growing up, like when I was doing cross country, and so I ran the half marathon, and I would say probably at like mile 11, my knee was just like killing me. It felt like there was a knife like just stabbing me behind my knee. So I kind of limped the last 2 miles, and I was after that, I was just like, I feel like this probably isn't the best thing for me right now. Like it's not really working for my body. And I needed something else that was competitive because I'm a little bit competitive by nature. So since I couldn't really run competitively at that point, so I felt anyway, I decided to step on stage and do figure competitions in the MPC with the goal of earning my pro card.
And how did that turn out?
And I earned my pro card. I competed at the local level for a year, at the national level for a year, and then I earned my pro card and did a year with the IFBB.
Staying on bodybuilding, it's a definite cult following, if you would.
Sure, yep.
That's the best way to put it here.
Yep.
I mean, on ESPN, they just had the Arnold Classic, which was not on ESPN.com or any coverage whatsoever. Meanwhile, you get the WWE, which is covered, and it's sports entertainment.
Yep.
So how did you kind of adapt and get into the sport that not many people are really heavily focused on?
So, I mean, I must have been at the time just like, maybe I'm dating myself, but I feel like at the time it was like all the muscle and fitness magazines, back when people used to read actual magazines more often, I guess.
You're in your 20s at the time, right?
Yeah, I was in my 20s.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah,
we're
how old am I?
20s. I mean, all of us are buying every
I'm like,
muscle mag going.
Yeah. So anyway, I just remember looking at it and thinking like, well, you know what? I'll even backtrack to when I was 12. So back when I was 12, I remember I got really upset when I was doing like at gym, like we were running, and I tied my hair up. And I remember, I'm not going to say a name in case they end up seeing it, but I remember somebody I was in school with made a comment saying that my arms were like a boy's. And I remember at the time, when I was 12, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to tie my hair up like again because I don't want anyone to see my arms. And when I was looking at the pictures of the girls and I was see their like arms that were jacked, I was like, I can do that. I want to give that a try. And I was actually on the train working in the city at the time and happened to be on the train next to somebody from the gym. And we started talking, and he was like, brought up that his friend was a coach for bodybuilders and that he would put me in touch with him if I wanted to learn more. And it was just like this, it was like the stars aligned where I was like, actually, I really am curious about it. So he synced me up with Jack, and he trained me from day one until I threw in the towel.
So what was the biggest difference, would you think, from when you first started and the obstacles you had to overcome versus after you kind of got into it and you knew what to expect and became that veteran?
It's definitely a struggle when you first start. I feel like it's with anything though. Like when you don't know what to expect, I guess it kind of can go both ways. But for me, like not knowing what to expect, I was like, I think he's trying to kill me. I literally was like, I think my coach is trying to kill me right now, because I was starving, and going into competing, I remember thinking like, I have a pretty healthy diet. Thinking that I knew like what a, just now I'm like distracted. but I remember going into it thinking that I knew what a healthy diet was. And when I gave him my food plan, I remember like I was like, well, I had tortellini and I had like a black bean burger and I had cereal. In my mind, I was like, well, this doesn't sound terrible. And then when he like looked at my diet, he was just like, you have no clue how to eat for this.
Right. This
and I was like,
not happening.
Oh, okay. And he gave me my diet. And at first I remember thinking like, oh, this is gonna be like really, really tough. And it was, but I'm such a creature of habit that now for me, like my diet, granted, I love my burgers and tacos and pizza and all that fun stuff.
I think everybody does.
But I mean, I'm pretty typical with having like my eggs for breakfast, always having like chicken and rice and like a protein shake. Like there's certain things that are staples in my diet now that it is second nature. It doesn't, in my mind, think like I'm struggling to have that be a part, like a habit, and the cardio and all those things. So I would say like the diet became just much easier for me.
How about when you were a veteran? What would you say was the most difficult thing to overcome?
I mean, for me, I struggled just with my size. I'm 5 feet tall. You can't tell when I'm sitting down. But I think for me, it was just being able to put on muscle mass was really my biggest struggle, because it was like I lost the weight and I lost the body fat, but like competing with women who are, you know, in figure, it's not bodybuilding, so it's not like I'm trying to get bulky. If that was the game, I could probably do a pretty good job. But that to me was the hardest part. My legs never want to grow with muscle. I mean, I worked pretty hard for these puppies right now.
Bars that are bending that you're lifting off the ground.
Yeah,
so.
I've worked hard on them, but you know, that was probably my biggest struggle as I was more at like the pro level.
When it comes to supplementation, what were you? Was it pretty much the synonymous your entire bodybuilding career?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really do anything like, I didn't fluctuate a lot with any sort of supplements or anything I was doing. So I'm pretty basic.
What would you recommend to any newbies going out onto the stage? What might be some staples?
Stage, I mean,
because these are two different sports we're going to talk about today.
Completely two different sports. And it's been a while since I've been focused on my bodybuilding. I mean, I know I would sometimes dabble with like creatine. For me, I always had amino acids. I mean, that for me was just, especially with my diet being so strict, where if I was trying to like stay fasted or want something in between my meals, like there were times, you know, my calorie intake then is sometimes the calorie intake I might have in a meal after training right now. So that's like the drastic difference. So, I mean, I would mainly be doing my, you know, my BCAAs and protein shakes. I would do sometimes, what else would I do? L-carnitine I would sometimes have just to like throw it in there. I wasn't really like consistent with that, but.
It was a sale item. Sounds good. Let's
I was
it's
like,
not gonna hurt me.
let me just see if this is going to, yeah, I know it's going to do any damage. I definitely not going to probably be consistent enough with that. But like my staples would be like the BCAAs and beta alanine.
So once your nutrition started coming around, according to your coach, what he wanted to see you eating, did you count calories? Did you count your macros and go that route?
I didn't really have to so much because it was just a set diet. It wasn't like, I wasn't like having, you know, beef prepared one way one day. And it was literally like my diet. The only thing that we would really manipulate would be my carbs, and we would carb cycle. So it would be like, I might be sitting regularly at, and I would just know it was around like maybe let's say 1,100 calories, let's say. And then, I mean, he was drastic sometimes. I mean, sometimes it would be like, we're just cutting all your carbs out. And I'd be like, that's 800 calories, dude. Like, I used to try to find the most creative ways to make myself feel like I was eating. Like I would, like kelp, I used to always eat just to like feel like I was like seaweed. I would literally like do anything.
Just put it on the tongue, get a little salt and.
Yeah. So I wasn't necessarily counting like at that point, like I still use my Fitness Because now me in my mind, I always still like to see like where my breakdown is. Plus I've been using the Whoop. So I've been kind of like wanting to track everything. But yeah, I always knew where my calories were at. So it was typically like 800 to 1,100 calories or something.
Okay. Definitely helps.
Surprised I wasn't dead.
Now, in the research, carb cycling shows that it doesn't work whatsoever. There's no validity to it. However, the reality of it, yourself and any other person I've ever stepped on stage or has stepped on stage, it works.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at it as, well, depending on what it's going to do to the water level in your body and in your muscles and like subcutaneous. And it also does create a calorie deficit. I went from having 1,000 calories sometimes to like 800 calories while maintaining the exact same training level. So for those, I mean, sometimes it was 2 days, sometimes it was 3 days where it would be like no carbs. So you can look at it like either on either side. Somebody can also argue like, well, that was literally a calorie deficit. It could be like tricking your body, whatever. I'm sure there's a million ways somebody could spin like why it does or doesn't work. I will say for me, it worked. I mean, I didn't up it wasn't so much fluctuation in my diet. In my training program when we would do that, but it would still, and I mean, this is when you're looking at it at pictures. I mean, I would, like most people do, send weekly progress pictures, and I'd be like zooming in and like seeing like the tiniest thing. So, I mean, for me, it worked. To somebody else who might be looking at the picture might be like, you looked exactly the same last week. But
there's a huge difference between somebody that you're seeing about last week and then being on stage, literally being judged, right?
Yeah.
And they're looking at those.
They see everything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if your shoulder is like a half an inch hiked up.
Yep.
Like
you learn how to pose.
Count against you. Yeah. Yeah. But I know I used to always look and be like, why does that happen on my right side? I'm like, my freaking like trap is, I don't know what's going on. So
when was the decision made to exit that sport?
I was going through a time in my life when I felt like I needed to drink more wine, to be honest. I was going through my divorce, and I was like, I think I actually need to drink a little bit right now. And so I put it on the back burner for a little bit, and then I just kind of dealt with life. I was enjoying going out for a little bit. So where I was, like, I'm the type of person, if like, because I was at that point still going to like go into my second year competing in the IFBB, and I was just like, I was finding myself going out more, and I wanted to like meet people, and it was not like, it's a hard lifestyle to live if you're trying to meet people. So it just wasn't working for me at that point.
So what is with bodybuilders? You haven't gone through the typical bodybuilder cycle that I've noticed. Bodybuilders typically have their season. They look great for the season. They look like
dog shit.
Tony Stark's over here, so I'll keep to myself. But yes, what you just said. Well, what is the difference in the mentality, do you think?
I mean, I've always been active, and like I didn't go into an off season and feel like I need to be like a gavone and just like eat everything. That night, yes. I mean, I had a couple of shows where I ate until I threw up, honestly, because I was just like, I was like, oh, my stomach couldn't handle like 3 sliders, fried mac and cheese, burger, and Butterfingers ice cream bar. Okay. But anyway, one thing I struggle with is taking time off, which I know probably is like sometimes to my detriment, but I probably like reversed diet without noticing I was reverse dieting, if you want to call that what it is. Like, I mean, I didn't jump right into some sort of crazy eating plan. Like, I still was pretty consistent with being a creature of habit, eating the same foods. But I allowed myself to enjoy things like the 80-20 rule, right? Like I would like 80% of the time, like still be eating the same way. I got really like hooked on my cardio, though, to be honest. Even years after I was competing, before I knew I was going to do triathlons, I was still waking up sometimes at like 3 or 4 in the morning, going on my elliptical for like an hour, because that was like my time for me to like to read and to like listen to things. So I was still in that habit for that was a hard habit for me to break.
That's right. You get up at weird, ungodly hours and still somehow crank it until like normal people go to bed.
Yeah. I mean, I've shifted it a little bit, because sometimes I have later nights now. But yeah, and there were times I remember I would sometimes wake up at 2:30 in the morning and I couldn't sleep, and I would get up and do the elliptical, and then I would just go on about my day, and I would be like, okay. But yeah. So I think I didn't really just stop my routine, and then I didn't take it as like my bulking season. I mean, some seasons maybe I got a little bit heavier, but I never was like crazy.
No, I doubt you've ever been
not my heaviest.
Yeah.
This is me. Yeah.
So transition us here, if you would, into your new sport, triathlons.
I love triathlons.
It seems like it.
I do. I really, really do. It is, well, it's an amazing community. Not to knock the bodybuilding world. I never felt like I was a part of anything. I literally, competitions, I was like, with my robe on, just sitting by myself, like for 3 hours backstage, like barely anyone talked to each other.
She's going to win. Screw her. All right.
I know.
We're all going to hang it over here.
My coach was always like, keep your robe on until the last second you go on stage. Nobody's allowed to see what you look like. I'm like, got it. So I would just sit by myself, like looking at everyone. But with triathlon, it's such an awesome community. I love, for the most part, I feel strong a lot of the time, like because I'm not depleted, and I love that I can eat what I want. My family, not that they didn't love me back then, but they definitely like love being with me a lot more now.
There's that psycho bodybuilder side that comes out, and
my mom would be like embarrassed when I'd be like, can you heat up my tilapia in the kitchen? We were at like an Italian restaurant for my papa's birthday. She's like, oh, Lloyd, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, sorry, Mom. But anyway, triathlon, I love feeling like I can be fast, and just seeing that improvement. Like this year, I've been feeling so good on my runs that I'm like, I love running, and that I can also just balance. Like I still lift. That's still a part of my life. I like that it challenges me in 3 different areas. Like I suck at swimming, but I'm still really trying really hard to get better at it.
We all have our weaknesses at something, right?
I don't have like the arm span, you know?
So you're
like,
reaching and everyone else is reaching
everyone
a
else
little further?
is getting like a lot more, pull. Got short arms, short legs, but I'm getting there. I like that it's like I like personal sports, obviously, since same thing as figure. But
and for being, I don't want to say short, for being vertically challenged, you're still taking home first place finishes, though.
Yeah.
So it's not all a lost cause.
Right. I mean, I definitely have gotten pretty fast on my bike and running, even though my little legs might just move a little bit quicker, but like I might not get as much distance with each stride, but I guess they go fast because I feel like I know I've become much stronger. And when I was younger, and I always say, I'm like, damn, I wish I could remember, like I used to run the mile in high school, like in the low 5 minutes. And I'm like, now I'm like, can I get back there? That'd be freaking awesome.
You're in the same boat right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Trying to get back to your high school numbers.
Yep, exactly.
I know, I'm like,
because those are the
how
same numbers
awesome.
in Spartan where I need to be at to be number 1.
Oh, all right.
I figured it out. I mean,
See?
we had VJ Jones, who's number 1 in the world.
Let's figure out to get back to
on our
high
last
school
podcast.
numbers.
So yeah,
that's what we
those
got
are
to
numbers.
do. Back to those high school numbers. I'm going to crush all the high school kids in their numbers. Just kidding.
So find a high school, start training with them, and get back.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, it's so much in high school too. I guess it was like so much more consistently outdoor training. Now I've become
Of course,
so much
after
more
school,
like,
you knew.
Yeah, it didn't matter too
At
if it
whatever
was like
time
5
school's
degrees.
done, you go out there.
It didn't
and-
matter.
No.
Now I'm
Oh,
like,
you're feeling it?
Yeah.
You're
right?
feeling the cold now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hate it.
It's not just me.
No, I hate the cold. I'm like, if it's not like 55, 60 degrees or hotter, I'm like, treadmill it is. Yeah.
So what is the main differences that you can pick out between both eating and training?
I mean, and I don't eat whatever I want. I mean, I do have my days where I eat whatever I want, but with my diet, I don't watch my carbs. Like, I'm not like super stressed about that. I don't need a ton of carbs just by nature. I'm not like a crazy carb person, but I would say I'm more liberal. Like, I don't stress about going out to eat. Like, I'll eat pizza. I don't care.
Okay.
But I mean, really, the biggest difference is that I'll track my macros, but I'm not as concerned like with where my macros are coming from. Like, I'll always want to see where I'm at, but I'm not
I was just
necessarily
going to
like.
ask because I know so many individuals that are very competitive. They're a little bit different levels. They're more weekend warriors. And
Yeah.
they're huge. They have orbits. But they're still competing triathlons. And
Yeah.
that's just because they're drinking 2 bottles of wine at a time and eating the entire menu at McDonald's.
Right.
And
It's
so forth.
harmony. It's all about harmony.
Yes.
And I mean, I am like, well, you know, I always have my water. Like, I definitely like flush out my system and stay hydrated. Even if I'm drinking wine or having a beer, like I'm definitely trying to like get a ton of water in each day too. So
What was the wow factor on your first race that you did? Was there even a wow factor that you were not expecting?
let me think of my first. Oh, well, my first duathlon, I guess the wow factor was like, I didn't realize how competitive the first duathlon, because I started with duathlon because I was like, I don't know if I could swim. Let me try this first. I was like terrified of going in the water. So I mean, my wow factor was that this sport that I really had no idea about existed, like duathlon and triathlon. I did a triathlon in 2004, actually. That was to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. My sister and I did it with Team in Training. But aside from that one experience, like, I didn't realize how many competitive adults there were in this realm because I was so focused on like bodybuilding and all that. So for me, it was like, I think, holy shit, I was in so much pain and so freaking uncomfortable. And then within like 2 minutes, you're like, okay, I felt great. That was awesome. That was so cool. Like, I want to tell everyone what I did. And I felt so excited by it that it's just so weird how you could be so uncomfortable for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, where you're like questioning yourself the entire time. Like, I don't know if I could really do this. Like, this is like, I don't want to die. And within literally, I don't know if maybe I just have like a pretty decent recovery, but like within 2 minutes, I'm like feeling great. Like, I just feel like I'm high. So I guess that was like my wow factor of how you can go from being like so uncomfortable for such a long period of time to being like feeling so good.
Do you ever get to the point after training sessions or even a race where you're on the ground saying to yourself, why am I doing this?
I mean, I've definitely had training sessions where I'm like halfway through, like, what the F? But with races, I definitely get this feel like New Jersey State Triathlon. Okay, and I was actually trying to remember which race it was that I was in Napa, like up to like 3 days before the race, which was not a well thought out schedule. And so I definitely drank way too much wine and didn't have enough recovery time between the race.
Okay.
But during that, and plus it was July in New Jersey and it was hot as hell and like my feet were burning. I was just super uncomfortable and they even shortened the 6 mile run to 5 miles or 5.5 miles, which I know that it's not like, some people are like, okay, cool, it's still 5 miles or 6 miles, whatever. But I just like, I was struggling on that race. I could not wait for it to be done. They, thank God, had like showers coming down right when you like finish.
Nice.
So you could just run in. I'm like, just leave me here. Somebody just get me water, please. So that race I would say was that race and the Poconos. They were both no. Okay, sorry. Now I'm going back. My race that I did, the Poconos. That was my first Olympic distance triathlon. And you've been to the Poconos before. Mm-hmm. It's pretty mountainous out there. A little bit. And I remember reading, there were like people talking about the race, and they're like, there's a 2 mile uphill. And I was like, that sounds like a really awfully long uphill.
It does sound pretty awful.
It was horrible. Horrible. I saw this girl at the lake like the week before, or whatever it was before I had the race. She was like, I did that race. She's like, a lot of people walk up that hill.
I was just about to ask,
and
is it accepted to
Yes,
walk?
Yeah. I mean, you feel like you're not moving at all. And it was brutal. And the people that did the half Ironman at that race had to do 2 loops of it. And I was like, thank God I'm doing an Olympic distance right now, because if I knew that was coming again on a second loop, mm-hmm. I'd cry and then my breathing would be off and I'd just really screw up this race. So that was terrible. At that point I was thinking, what the hell why did I do Poconos as my like first Olympic distance triathlon?
You didn't know?
Nope, didn't know.
Have you done it since?
No, I did not.
It
was last year.
Or was that like
that was
I don't
last
need to do that
year.
one. There's plenty more races to do.
I actually really did love the course though. Like, the swim, I definitely just took it easy, and I was just like, just don't die, just swim. I was like, just like, you could tell on my time it was a very casual swim. But the run, I felt great on the run. So, I would, but this year I'm going to focus a little bit more on sprint distance, just because I'm pretty competitive at the sprint distance. So
stick with what works.
Yeah, and I want to. I've qualified already, but I haven't done it for the national championships. So I want to focus on sprint this year, qualify for national championships, and then compete there next year.
It works.
Yeah.
Have you messed around with turning your body into ketosis at all for better endurance, or do you pretty much stick with carbs?
I pretty much stick with carbs. I do like low carb or no carb days, but I haven't like messed with like going to ketosis yet.
I know it's more of a ultra marathon and distance thing, but there are some athletes, so I was just curious if you've been there.
No, I haven't been there yet. No. I'll look into it. I'll see if I want to give it a try. But then I guess I'd have to do bunless burgers then.
You would have to go with the bunless burger.
and just mozzarella and sauce
Or you
instead
could
of
just
pizza.
boost your levels, take a nice shot of the exogenous ketones, and cheat and go with that way.
And then well, if there's a way to cheat, then maybe,
There's your little.
maybe I'll do it. Yeah, if I could cheat my way to
definitely do that.
ketosis.
If you ever thought of what it tastes though, like to drink what battery acid would be like, that would be it. Well, there is a little cherry flavoring to go with the battery acid, though.
Interesting.
Yes.
Let me sleep on that one, Jim.
I want an answer by 2:30 in the morning when you get up.
You just have to drink battery acid. You'll be fine, though. You'll be in ketosis. Okay.
If you knew that if you drank this thing of battery acid, the ketones, and you would start achieving your high school...
Yes, I would do it.
All right, in a heartbeat.
Yes. I said I was competitive. If I knew that it would be like 30 seconds of like, I might regurgitate this, but I'm going to get really fast. And it's like, legal, I guess.
Legal-ish.
I mean, legal-ish. Sure.
You still got your question?
Yes.
Come on over to the microphone.
We have a question. Yes.
Come on, Mr. Tony Stark.
All right.
Here we go.
Wearing the helmet?
You want?
Did you want to wear the
You want
helmet?
the
The helmet.
All right, no helmet.
Oh, okay.
What is your main routine?
So my main routine, good question, because there's a lot that goes into it because of the 3 sports. So I run twice a week. One run is focused on like interval type sprints. One is more of like a steady state. I do one longer bike ride a week.
Okay.
I swim twice a week. One day that's more of like speed and one day that's more like drills. I do weights like 5 times a week, sort of 6. I have like a core flexibility day. And I do a brick once a week, which is like bike run. And yoga. I'm trying to get consistent with my yoga.
Okay.
Now you got it. You got any more questions? If you come up with something, just jump in.
Okay.
All
Yes,
right?
totally. Cut me off if you need to. It's totally fine. Thank you.
So, Ms. Athlete, most athletes stay away from alcohol.
Yes.
Well, unless we're in our 20s and just, living the life of, obviously, where it's a staple of
ridiculous, yeah.
breakfast.
Yes.
But then when you get to be 29, as you are right now,
Yeah, I know.
then
Pushing 30.
then you get into a profession of living in wine.
Yes.
So how did wine come into play here?
So wine, I found ONEHOPE because of COVID, and the gyms were all shut down, so I was out of work for a little bit, and I lived next door to my twin sister, and she does yoga, and we were like, we should totally do something with like wine and yoga, and I was like, we should like learn about wine then, because
There's a lot to it.
I literally was like, I like red wine. That was it. If somebody asked me anything, I'm like, this is really good. This is really good wine. Drink it. That was it. And I mean, that's pretty much still where like some of my knowledge is. But I ended up just happening upon ONEHOPE, and I was like, sure, I'll like jump on a call, learn more about it. And I was like, this sounds like such a no risk way to get involved in the wine industry and learn and make some extra money. So I decided to jump in, and it turned into this like amazing opportunity. And I ran with it, and it's been like I've been able to fold it into my life very easily.
So what exactly have you had to learn?
How to read a wine label.
Oh.
It's very complex. So yeah, our wine bottles, which they have all of like the tasting profile and everything on there. We do have like some training and materials, but literally like to jump into the wine business, I did not need to know anything about wine. I just needed to be able to talk to people, which clearly
you're
I
doing that now.
I can talk. So sorry if I'm screaming and that's loud.
And now making TikToks,
I know,
yes?
and making TikToks. Yeah, so really to work ONEHOPE, it's really all about fundraising and raising money for nonprofits. So for me, it was more about just connecting with friends, family, local nonprofits, people that might want to fundraise for causes, and it was like you learn as you go. Like now I'm definitely more well versed in talking about wine now than when I started, obviously, because we just we drink a lot of it. We have our winemaker, Mari Wells-Coyle. She talks a lot to the community and like shares her amazing wine knowledge, and how she speaks about wine is beautiful. So really, I just jumped right in. Didn't need to know anything at all. Oh.
What do you say would be when training? Do you consistently drink wine every day as well?
No, I mean, I'm pretty consistent. I mean, I don't really change things too much with like my drinking because again, like I said, I mean, I really do balance it out with like my water, electrolytes, all that. But like the week of a race, I'm not like drinking. Although I actually before my first triathlon, I remember I was one of my triathlons, I was staying with my aunt and uncle, and we always like golf and drink wine. And I remember being like, I was going on Google researching like what like because at that point, of course, I already wanted to be the best triathlete. I was just trying to find like what like well-known athletes drink wine before a race because I was like, I know I'm going to want to have one glass with them. And it's funny though because there are a lot of, I mean, it was more like marathon articles that came up, but that a lot of them will still drink like a beer or a glass of wine with dinner the night before a race. I don't personally, just because I'm a head case. And I've been doing the same thing now where I eat my same meals leading up, like during the week of a race. I don't drink. I drink a ton of water and hydrate and all that. But while I'm training, I'm not crazy with like needing to monitor my alcohol too much. I'm not drinking like a bottle a night, but
makes sense.
When
it comes, at least when I've tested it, never in a competition, but I tested it before training, and I actually did a PR after having a bottle of wine.
Oh, see?
I don't remember the run too
well.
You
ran. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was using it as a fuel, by the way.
Wait, that's so funny, 'cause I literally was just looking at. Go on. Sorry.
That's pretty much it. I don't remember anything over a 5K.
Yeah.
Gassed, done.
Wow.
Tried 10-minute miles after that. I mean, it's not happening.
I mean, I've even thought about if I drank like some wine, I'm sure I could run. I would never bike or swim if I drank any alcohol. There's just zero shot.
Drowning, falling off a bike.
No way. There's just no way. Yeah, like a wind would blow, I'd be done. Like, forget about it. But I was looking at this other article too, and because they were talking about, they're like, the alcohol back in the day used to be like recovery for people.
Steve
And
Prefontaine used to drink
pre-workout
beer
even
all the time, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that I love about the triathlon community, where like there's always like beers and drinking after the fact.
Right.
It's not like, I mean, there's food and drinking where it's like, it's just totally like acceptable part of the community. So I found my people.
You did. Let me ask, does you find that consuming wine more regularly makes you, going back to the bodybuilding, look or feel more bloated over time? Does your face round out? Does the abs not shine through as much anymore?
I think it might be more that I don't watch my sodium. I don't know if that's like sorry guys, but like, I mean,
you need the electrolytes for what
yeah,
you're doing.
so I mean, I'm sure if I cut back a little bit on alcohol, flushed out a little bit of the sodium, and like maybe I would be less fluffy. But my diet, it's definitely a combination. My diet is nowhere near as strict as it was. Like, I mean, when I think back to my bodybuilding diet, it was literally like egg whites, oatmeal, chicken rice, tilapia sweet potato, chicken veggies. I have like spreadsheets of all my, and it's all the same thing. So it literally like, there was I didn't have any seasoning, like, well, maybe like Mrs. Dash or like Flavor God type stuff, but nothing extra. There was no sauces, anything. Mm-hmm. So my diet, definitely along with the alcohol, because I didn't drink at all then. So I think it's both. It's definitely both. I'm not willing to cut out alcohol completely. You know what I'll do? I'll pay attention the week of my race when I cut out alcohol for a week.
Interesting.
see how shredded I look.
Is there anything that's Iron Man? Is there? You should try hitting like that tomorrow. That's a helmet though. The nobody can see. So
yeah, we just sound like
Tony
crazy.
Stark over there. He's got on his Iron Man. Come on over. Here we go. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have any, call it hacks, anything above and beyond, something that's different that the general public might not typically do if they are having a coach send them stuff or they're just looking stuff up? Is there anything that you do personally that you enjoy that sets you either mentally or physically above where you think you would if you didn't do it?
Well, this is the way I am, and I don't know if this might set me apart maybe from some people with their training programs. Like, if something's written down, I have to do it. Like, I'm the type where if my training program says that I have to do 4 rounds of XYZ, like, if it's written down, I have to do it. But in my mind, like, this is where I'm terrible, where I need to put down like my mobility work, because that's something that I know I need to do.
Why is that? Everybody.
I know.
Everybody is.
It's
nobody
terrible.
wants to do the flexibility stuff.
It's like, but you know, it's funny. Like the other day, I started my watch and I was doing like my workout, but I started with my mobility work, and it was like just because in my mind I think I was like tracking my workout. I did such a so much like rotational movement, and I was like, oh my, I feel so much better later in that day. Like I'm like, why don't I do that all the time? Like it's crazy where it's, and this might, I'm sure this is a combination of that I'm turning 30 and that I don't recover, like I don't spend so much time with recovery. Like my body, if I don't work on mobility for like 3 days in a row, I feel like crap. And then if I stay consistent for 3 days in a row, I feel so good. I'm like, why don't I do this more?
Yes, why don't you do this more?
I don't know. Like even with foam rolling, like stupid things. Like even if like I'm just like trying to like get some extension in like my thoracic spine, and I'm like, oh, that feels so good. And then I'm like 3 weeks go by, and I'm like,
again.
why am I not doing that? It's terrible. But to my point is that if that was written down, I bet I would do it more.
So lesson says, write it down.
Yeah. So, but I think for me, that's part of where like my consistency comes into play with the fact that like I always complete my workouts unless I'm like sick. Like when I had COVID, like I probably took 2 days of like resting a little bit. But for me, I guess that's my secret sauce. I write things down so I do it. And just for like, if you don't like something that you're doing and you hate it, and there's another way to like accomplish the same thing, like do something else. Absolutely. Like for me, like I love doing sprint intervals, like half mile sprints. If that's a sprint for you, I don't know, but that to me, I enjoy that, and like I'll change it up by increasing my pace, but I like that workout. I still change it up like and try to make it more challenging, but like write it down and commit to it. That's it. That's my magic, guys.
Awesome advice.
Just write it down.
I mean, it's basic, but
that's literally
true.
it. I mean, for me, that's how I function. And I know, like, anytime I talk to people who are typically like successful at what they do, are the type of people that like to check off their list and get things done, and that works for me.
I've got a certain doctor that you're very familiar with, Dr. Brennan there, who intentionally, when I'm on the table, he's treating the hip just the other day. Asked, so you do your mobility work, Jim? He's saying it to be smart-ass sarcastic because he knows. Yeah. But we're all there. What is your summer schedule? Do you have everything planned out already for your race schedule?
I have my first race on May 14th. And then the New Jersey State Triathlon, I just registered for that, is, I want to say, July 16th. I had one on, like, in my mind on the books for June, and then I realized I'm going to be in Jamaica. So I'm going to be in Jamaica instead of that race. And then I actually have it in my phone. I have a race every month after that until October.
Anything around wine? Intentionally, perhaps?
As far as my races go? Stop that. Nothing. Oh, well, I mean, am I like trying to like coordinate so I'm not getting drunk around?
So there's certain people who might plan some obs course races around certain cities and certain events that might be in those cities. If they just somehow coordinate, even better.
Oh, I'm not that coordinated yet. I didn't coordinate my calendar
last year
like that.
Nashville, there was a Predators game that night, so it just so happened that let's go to Nashville for a race, and after the race is over that night, there happens to be a hockey game.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
My sister and I, so I guess I was doing triathlons for a while back. We ended up planning, it was like a fake mock triathlon, but it was the weekend in Wildwood when it was like, there was like an Irish festival going on and a motorcycle festival. We ended up going out thinking that we would be like, okay, to just have a couple of drinks. That was another thing where I was like, we were like dead because we were probably drinking into the night, and terrible. So that was not a good plan. Not a good plan at all. Terrible plan. So, but that's not what we were talking about.
It's all good. What is your main goal for the season?
I want to get that email that I qualified for nationals for next year, which I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to do that. So I would like to just consistently place, not just age group. I want to place overall. Like I want to take the top place in as many races as possible.
Love it.
And I want to consistently be in the 6-minute mile pace for my my run portion. So I really don't want to see a 7-minute and change mile. I want to get as low down there as possible.
Do you think it is feasible? And if so, how long to get sub 6 again?
If I'm just doing 1 mile? If I'm just doing one
Just
mile.
doing 1 mile.
Okay. I think I should be, I wish I could do it this year. I mean, the last time I just timed myself for just like a mile to just, I finished it a little over 6:30. And that I know it was because I didn't realize how close to the end I was of the mile. And then when I realized, I was like, crap.
Should have pushed it.
Yeah. I was like, I finished. I was like, I want to do it again. I want to try again.
Right now.
I literally, for a second, I was thinking, I was like, I should just do it again. I was like, no, that's stupid. I just literally, but I mean, I'd like to finish this season, and then if I kind of like test out a mile and see how fast I am, I'd like it to, if it could be this year, that would be great. Even if it's 5:58,
Okay.
I'll be happy. Yeah.
What's your biggest obstacle to overcome this season?
It's, I mean, my swim, I still always struggle with that. But honestly, this is something silly that I think one of my struggles is that I suck at turning on a bike. I slow down so much on my bike because I'm always, and I remember I used to ride a dirt bike sometimes, and I always remember I would be like, I would always fall when I would look at where I didn't want to go because I'd see like a dip in the dirt, and I was like, oh, if I go there, I'm going to fall, and I would just stare at it. I feel like with on the bike, I get so nervous of that I slow down, and then you like kind of lose stability on the bike. So I feel like if my swimming, if I could just get more comfortable in the water, that's always my biggest obstacle because I get so much in my head. But on my bike, I still need to get better at making turns. I think I'm better at making left turns than right turns, but
This is too good. Okay.
I just went through the whole process in my head. Yeah, those are all the things I need to work on. So yeah.
So how are we going to overcome this turning solution?
I just have to practice. I have to just go, like, sometimes I'll go into the parking lot and I'll just try to just do circles, and I'm like, somebody's got to be looking at me like, I'm like, Tony, this is just my cool down. I'm just doing loops and loops in the, but yeah, I got to just know that I'm not going to fall.
Get up there and
Just
just
do
be like
it.
a little kid again and just left, right, left,
I know.
right.
I
and-
like look at my nephews sometimes and I'm like, it's just because they don't care if they fall. For me,
No.
I'm like, oh, if I fall, what if I like hurt my knee?
They're
my
supposed to
ankle?
get cuts on their elbows and knees.
I know, and I'm like,
all every day. I mean, that's like
yeah,
kid 101.
I know, and they have no fear because they don't know what's possible and how much it could like suck.
So, interesting question. What changed then? At one time, you were the same way, right?
Yeah. I don't know. You know what it is? I don't know when this changed in my mind. This is probably like more recent though. Like I feel like I foresee every accident that could happen. Like when I'm like looking at things, I'm like, move that. Somebody's gonna get hurt on that. Like I just always notice these things. And I never like. Well, no, I didn't want to say something. I never had any really crazy thing happen. But I guess I just got older.
Well, if anything crazy happens, just step back on stage again.
Yeah,
You'll
right.
be
I know. I'm
fine.
like, fine. No more biking. I can't bike anymore. I need to just starve. Go back to figure competitions. Yeah.
Fair enough. If you were a superhero, who would you be?
Ooh, good question.
I mean, we are, see on the other side of these curtains, it's kind of superhero heaven.
I didn't even notice that when I walked in. Interesting. If I could be a superhero, I mean,
There's a stormtrooper mask, so you don't have to be a hero necessarily, a character from
wait, let me think on this. I mean,
Iron Man. Yep.
Iron Man. I'm gonna go with Iron Man. I mean,
Your choice.
my
Not-
choice. Wait, who's the one? Like, what's the one? Is it Wonder Woman? The one? Who's the one that the movie? Like, I just love the movie now. I can't even think of the name of it.
with the girl?
Yeah.
With the cool music? Whenever she's on screen about to beat up everybody?
But she's like got silver on, not red in the movie. Is it silver?
Dang it. Anything?
Widow?
No.
Scarlet Witch?
No. It's she's like
DC?
she's like really she's pretty, dark black hair. It probably is
I'm going to guess Wonder Woman.
a Wonder Woman. I guess it's Wonder Woman.
The only one, she's the only DC one that's been out in the movies, I
Oh, then yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
All right.
Because I always like, well, because I always, when I was like, I mean, I still sometimes I guess have these dreams, but I always have dreams where I would run really fast and then I would just jump and fly. And like, I always would want that to be either that to be my superpower or that I never needed to sleep to always feel really good.
You barely sleep anyway, so you
That
got
was
that.
always my thing. I was like, I just wish I never had to sleep.
Favorite song and favorite song to train by? They could also be the same.
Oh my God. Well, lately, I've just been like putting on 94.7. I've been loving
Yeah?
listening to that lately because
Okay.
it's like all old school and it just like gets me like pumped up. So that or like like the weirdest shit. I mean, I listen to everything. I like country, but on my Spotify, I literally just play Nelly, and I just listen to that when I'm running. And I can that's what I listen to.
That works.
So random.
You find you go through like phases, like Nelly might be this week or this month, and all of a sudden you need something else. And
You know what? I was
get
listening to
something else.
country for like a while, and then I just started to feel like there were so many like depressing, like meh songs coming on, where it wasn't always feeling like songs that made me want to like roll down the window and scream and sing. So yeah, just anything that's like high energy. But I can't do like dance house music or anything like that. Like that won't do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I need songs that are upbeat that like I know the words. I usually don't really sing them all. I know my words to the song. Those are like the songs that I like to listen to that like, yeah.
You ever do country?
Worst answer ever.
You ever do classical music while running?
No,
Just not upbeat enough?
it's definitely not upbeat enough. But outside, I don't listen to music. Only when I'm running on a treadmill. Like at a track or anywhere it's outdoors, I just like to hear outside.
You think or hyperfocus?
A little bit of both. You know, I think more when I'm swimming. And I don't know if that's
Maybe that's part of the
problem.
solution. Yeah, you're
I get sometimes
You're out
where
of it.
I'm like, sometimes I just start thinking about things. Well, it's funny.
maybe get on a raft with a Mai Tai, cross my legs here.
On one of the races I did, I remember I was like, it was a longer bike. I think it actually was the Delaware Valley duathlon. And I remember like probably about like 10 miles in, I was just like, or maybe 7 miles in, I all of a sudden realized I was like, I'm in a race. I'm just looking at the trees. It looks so nice outside. And all of a sudden I was like, just like in my zone. And I was like, wait, what the hell? Like I totally forgot that I was in a race for a minute. So it fluctuates. I'm sometimes super focused and sometimes I'm daydreaming. Like,
You got anything else for Ms. Lauren? Nada? So I'm sure others are going to be wanting to reach out to you and might have some of their own questions for you. How do they reach you?
well, I'll be tagged in here, right?
We'll be tagged. So all Lauren's information is going to be tagged on this podcast here.
Yes.
So do not worry. And if you have any questions, just leave them also below in the comments section after you hit that like.
Yes.
And I'll pass them all to Lauren as well. But if you want to contact her directly,
You can go on Facebook, which I'll be tagged in, on Instagram, ONEHOPE_Lauren. So you can always send me a DM there. And I'm pretty responsive there. So
any parting last words? Any advice, motivation, inspiration?
advice: if you want to do something, write it down and commit to it. And I mean, for all of our East Coast people, or New Jersey people, it's getting nice out. Enjoy the weather. Get outside and do shit.
Amen. It's almost 80 degrees
There
in
you
this
go.
wintertime here today. So
I know.
love it.
I'm like ready to I want to go biking. I want to run. I want to golf. Not at the lake yet. It's too cold to go in the water, but yeah,
It is what it is.
it is what it is. But drink wine. It's not bad for you. Just kidding. Yeah. If you need wine, come to me.
And Lauren's information will be there
Yes.
to either get cases of wine yourself, a bottle for a special occasion, or perhaps you might like to follow in Lauren's footsteps. And I'm sure Lauren would be more than happy to guide you along that.
Yes. I'm happy to talk about all the things. Fitness, burgers, wine.
Hell yeah.
I'm your girl.
Thank you, Lauren, for being with us.
Thank you. This is fun.
Absolutely. Live functionized, y'all.